So, hey everybody, my name's Nate, and mahalo for joining us for the House District 20 Candidate Forum. I'm your Region 2 Chair, and our moderator this evening is Flora Obayashi from District 48. And of course, our meeting host is the wonderful, talented Rich Halverson. So tonight, we are going to hear from our District 20 candidates, Becky Gardner, Jay Ishibashi, Jackson Sayama, and Derek Turbin. They're all vying to represent St. Louis Heights, Palolo, Maunalani Heights, and Wilhelmina Rise, and of course, Kaimuki. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to offer opening statements. Next, they will each offer 2-minute responses to 5 questions. Lastly, they will each offer 2-minute closing statements, which will include their contact information should voters have any further questions. So the way we're going to do timing today is going to be, I have been pinned to your gallery, and if Zoom ever decides to give me my controls back, I will be able to change my virtual background to a green, red, and green, yellow, and red background. So the green will indicate you are in the first minute and a half of your time for each time to speak. The yellow will indicate you have 30 seconds left, and the red will be a 10-second warning. So I believe Lorna would like to say something next. Lorna Strand, our Oahu chair.
Aloha, everybody. I'm actually trying to help Jay get on our Zoom link. So, but it's really wonderful to see you. And I guess on with the forum.
Okay. Aloha, everyone. The order of speaking will start by last name alphabetical, and then we'll alternate for the questions. So we begin with the opening statements at 2 minutes each, and it will be Becky, Jay, Jackson, and Derek. Becky?
Okay, starting the timer. Everyone can hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, so my name is Becky Gardner. I am running for District 20. I want to thank the Oahu Dems for putting on this forum. I thought it was going to be the first one where all 4 candidates were available to field some questions, but looks like it's just the 3 of us. So this is the best we've done so far, I think. So a lot of you guys know me from my work in the party. Probably a lot of the Oahu Dems know me as one of the past co-chairs for the most recent convention. I was one of the co-chairs of the resolutions committee of the last Oahu Dem convention. I'm also on the state central committee. I represent Senate District 10. I'm the non-male rep there, been there since 2018. I'm also the outgoing vice chair of District 20 as well. But more general about me, besides the party, I'm an attorney. I'm licensed in the state of Hawaii and in New York. I went to Richardson School of Law. I graduated in 2006 there. I've actually, several semesters I had worked there as an adjunct professor teaching a legal writing class to the 1L students. And I have a bachelor's degree in social work from Cornell University that I received in 1995. But I did move to Hawaii to attend Richardson School of Law as my first choice law school. I am involved in a lot of community organizations, particularly in this district. I'm on the board of the directors of the Hawaii Filipino Lawyers Association. I'm active in a lot of bar association. I'm one of the Leadership Institute Fellows from the Hawaii State Bar Association back in 2010. And probably most germane to my candidacy is my experience in government. I have 4 consecutive legislative sessions under my belt as a staff attorney for the Consumer Protection Commerce Committee. And also I'm on the neighborhood board. I've been on the Kaimuki neighborhood board. I'm starting my 4th year. I got a lot more to say, so I'm looking forward to the questions in the end. I think my time is up.
Okay, thank you, Becky. Is Jay in the room yet? He's not in the room.
Jay and I are working on it.
Okay, thanks, Lorna. Okay, then we have Jackson.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Jackson Sayama, and I was born and raised in this district and still live here on St. Louis Heights. I went to school at Hokulani, Punahou, and graduated from the New York University of Shanghai. During my studies, I interned with various government offices, the Honolulu's Mayor's Office of Economic Development, Senator Brian Schatz's office in DC, and State Senator Stanley Chang's office here at the Capitol. After coming back home, I joined my local neighborhood board, Neighborhood Security Watch, and conducted outreach with houseless communities around Oahu, from Waianae, Waimanalo, and most recently I've been focused on Crane Park next to Kaimuki. And while I was happy to be an active member in the community that I love and was born and raised in, I was really frustrated and sad to see so many of my family and friends, especially, leaving Hawaii because of the lack of opportunities and the rising cost of living. And as someone who calls Hawaii his home and who wants to have a future here, I can't stand idly by as thousands of local families are forced to be uprooted and leave Hawaii. And that's why, as a representative, I want to help build a Hawaii where our families and children can thrive here and call Hawaii home for generations to come. And even as we work to address the immediate needs of COVID-19, I want to work to diversify our economy, modernize our schools so that we are giving the best opportunities for our children. And finally, I want to address houselessness more sustainably.
30 seconds.
This pandemic has shown us that the same old simply isn't going to work. And Hawaii desperately needs change. As a young candidate, I want to work to lay that foundation for change, to build a better Hawaii for the district that I was born and raised in. Thank you.
Thank you. Derek?
Yes, hi. Hi. Can everyone hear me good?
Yes.
Great. Aloha, everyone. My name is Derek Turbin, and thank you all for being here. I really appreciate everyone coming and really the Democratic Party for putting this together. So a little bit about myself. I'm an attorney, a Punahou graduate, and a Palolo resident. I've been practicing law for about 7 years. I am currently the managing attorney for the law office of Gilson Dobb, Hawaii. I also spent time serving as a staff attorney for the Judiciary Committee at the Hawaii State Legislature. And I also spent time teaching at St. Louis and coaching college track. So without a doubt, I know that this has been a really challenging few months. And amongst the challenges, though, I've found a lot of sources of inspiration. You know, I've been inspired by the food banks that some of my colleagues in the legal industry have put together that I've had the honor of participating in. I've been inspired by a lot of the medical professionals who have stepped up and donated their PPE and fundraised for PPE for the frontline medical workers. And again, I've had the honor to participate in that movement. And I've also been inspired by the activism, the young activists who have organized amazing rallies for civil rights. Now moving forward at the legislature, we're going to face some unprecedented challenges. And if I have the honor of serving District 20, of serving in the legislature, you know, I promise that I'm always going to show up. I'm always going to listen. I'm always going to advocate for the people. And I'm also going to just take that energy that we've seen over the past few months and that community spirit and bring that spirit to the legislature. So thank you.
Good for you. Okay, for our first question, tell us why you are a member of the Democratic Party and what you believe are the key aspects of its platform and mission. Explain how you plan to execute that mission with your legislative priorities in the state legislature. Is Jay in the room? Is he still in the waiting room?
Not quite yet. Almost.
Okay, Jackson, let's start with you.
All right. I'm a Democrat because I believe that government is an institution for good and that it should provide everyone, regardless of their socioeconomic standing, an opportunity to thrive. I believe government that honors the concerns and aspirations and cultural values of the community while making policy decisions based in scientific information and facts. Finally, I'm a Democrat because I believe our community's diversity is a cornerstone of our democracy and only strengthens our pursuit for social equality. These principles guide me as I look to build a better Hawaii for our families by modernizing and improving our public education and, again, addressing houselessness as a community. But I think the underlying principles that really guide me as a candidate is the aloha spirit. I think people often discount this cultural value as something that you just say to tourists and advertise, but it's really a concrete principle that is in our Hawaii Constitution and should be looked in all areas and all issues to guide us in how we go forward. Because too often we just look to the solutions and we just race towards it without considering the community's concerns. And as a representative, I will always use this aloha spirit as a pillar to move forward along with the community so that we could actually make Hawaii a better place together. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Derek.
Okay, so back in 2016, I volunteered with the Democratic Party to campaign for the presidential election. So I was spending weekends knocking on doors for Democratic candidates, Hillary and Catherine Cortez Masto. And I think like many of us here on this forum, I was very disappointed with the result of the presidential election. So then the next week, I was listening to President Obama speak, and what he said is, if you don't like who's elected in office, get a clipboard, get your signatures, do something about it, show up, dive in, persevere, run for office. Which brings me to why I love the Democratic Party, because the Democratic Party is about hope and it's about progress. So, moving forward, if I have the honor of serving, I understand that we need hope and we need to advocate for progress. We need to make progress with criminal justice reform. We need to make progress with our fight against climate change. We need to make progress in growing affordable housing, expanding healthcare here in the state, in particular to low-income individuals, as well as with family leave, advocating for family leave, protecting women's rights, protecting a woman's right to choose, and improving wages. And moreover, and equally as important, we need hope. We need hope to protect our local families who have been affected by COVID-19, whether they were laid off or furloughed, and our small businesses need hope for their survival to ensure that our local businesses can survive. So if elected, I want to carry that Democratic legacy of advocating for progress, as well as giving our people hope to ensure that they can survive the next years to come.
Thank you. Derek, Becky.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
So, well, I think I mentioned, since I finished at the law school here, I have been working in state government for the last 14 years, but I wasn't really political for most of that time. I was wonky, very wonky. A lot of my focus was on national level policies, but of course, state legislative work, I did for 4 sessions. But I'll have to see, Derek mentioned that 2016 election, and that was a critical turning point for me as well. And I'm sure I share the sentiment with so many people on the call here that it felt like a national disaster, what was happening, watching the numbers come in that night. And I was just overwhelmed with a sense that I had to do something. I had to do something. So whereas in the past, I may have avoided a lot of partisan type things, political party type things, because it's characterized by a lot of acrimony, and that's really not my way, not my style. After seeing that 2016 election, I had no choice. And I had to find ways to get involved. In fact, it was, I would say it was therapeutic for me to get involved. And there's this adage, you know, that you tend to the garden that you can reach. And so with everything that was happening on the national level that I felt didn't have control over, I got involved in local politics. And I got involved in local organizations. I got involved in the party. And, you know, from doing that, I met some amazing people. And I'll just, you know, mention a couple. In fact, Calvin Say at the district meeting in 2018, he nominated me to be the vice chair of the district. And I was very honored by that. Alan Burdick, who is also very active in the Wahoo Dens, he printed up the nom papers for the State Central Committee. And he's like, you need to run for this. And so I did. Will Carone, chair of this district, he told me, you need to run for office. Oh, is that 2 minutes already?
Yep, wrap it up.
Wow.
You're done. You're done.
I didn't even get into the platform. I printed this and I wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't see, in my screen,
Next
I didn't see
person is, I believe, is Jay in the room yet?
Can I just note one thing? I couldn't see in my view the timer.
The timer originally was going to be red, yellow, and green, but apparently that system was abandoned right at the time we started. So
Yeah,
now
I'm having trouble. It took away my ability to change my virtual background. So now I have to change my profile picture, which is a far more involved process. It's still going to be the green, yellow, and red.
okay. Well, if you can see it, great. If not, I'll let you know. Okay, Becky?
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
We you know, when something happens, we just have to punt. And
Yeah.
so we're in that right now.
If you can pin the screen right now that says, well, it just says green for some reason. Yeah.
Let's figure out whether Jay is in the room. Is he in the waiting room, Lorna?
No.
He's not in the waiting room. Okay, we'll ask him the identity question when he comes in. All right, the next question we have is on the economy. The COVID-19 pandemic has negatively affected the flow of tourist dollars into the local economy. Tell us what you think about the intersectionality between public health and economic health, and what proposals you might have to rescue the economy. We begin with, Jackson, you started last time, right? So let's begin with Derek.
Okay, so, you know, with regards to what's going on in the intersection between the economy and public health, our number one priority needs to be public health. With that being said, we do need to find creative ways to create jobs and to stimulate the local economy. So, you know, one of my policies is through the federal Job Corps program that's being discussed, or through federal funding, really investing in our local agriculture. And I know we have local agriculture programs through the university. I worked with Aloha Harvest for some of the food banks. So investing in those programs and creating those jobs here in the state, and also moving away from our dependence on importing agriculture and produce and things like that. So that's one of the ways that I hope we can stimulate our economy internally. With regards to the visitor economy, the tourism economy, you know, one of the things that I think our state needs to look at now is a bubble economy with places like New Zealand, South Korea, Japan, places that have COVID under control, because I know one of the reasons why we had to push back reopening our economy to tourism is the fact that the cases are surging on the mainland, such as California, where we get a lot of our tourists from. Another thing that we got to look into is the tech, IT, and data analytics industries. They're mobile industries, and right now, a couple of my close friends who I went to high school with, they're actually in Hawaii now working mobily because it's not safe, or they have the opportunity to not have to work in places like New York and California. So they're here working right now. So I think that's a tremendous opportunity for us to grow that industry. I've talked to them and they said they're willing to show up to schools and, you know, different work groups to talk about developing that industry here in Hawaii.
2 minutes.
Oh, thank you.
Yep, that's 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Okay. The next person that's going to speak after Derek, Becky, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can
Let's
you hear
hear.
me? Okay. Okay, so this question, you know, the negative effect on the flow of tourist dollars into the local economy. And, you know, I think it's really important to look at these words, the flow of tourist dollars. And then it seems like we're equating the tourism dollars to economic health. And I want to challenge that notion. We don't have to be so dependent on tourism for our economic health. And, you know, I really love, though, that you're using the word intersectionality between public health and economic health, because these are inextricably connected, in my view. And you know this this way that we've been looking at the pandemic that, you know, we hear described like the hammer and the dance, right? We see the hammer go down. We all went inside. It was a lockdown. We're all really careful, and now we're slowly opening up, and now we have to do this dance. It doesn't look like that right now. And I really want to honor that concept that we have to like work both on public health and economic health. And I argue we need to infuse a third factor, and I don't see the timer anymore. My computer doesn't show me, so if someone could yell 30, that would be great. But I want to include a third matter to involve in this calculus, and that would be environmental health. And I would love to see the Green New Deal and us really exploring those ideas so we can live in harmony with our environment. There's a lot we can do. I mean, 30? Okay, so just like the New Deal was instrumental in pulling us out of the Great Depression, I think the Green New Deal will help us link together public health, economic health, and environmental health, so we're not so dependent on these tourism dollars. And I think we need to play to our strengths, especially in Hawaii, because we have this community, culture, and ethic of care and taking care of each other. I think we can turn into it. I'm sorry?
That was 2 minutes.
That was 2 minutes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Becky. All right, is Jay in the room?
Yes, I am. Sorry.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. So
Yes, I apologize.
the question is, tell us why you are a member of the Democratic Party and what you believe are the key aspects of its platform and mission.
Oh, and Jay,
Explain
Yes.
how you plan to execute that mission with your legislative priorities in the state legislature. And that's the first question. And as soon as you finish, we'll ask you the second question.
so since you're on the phone,
Okay.
I'm gonna yell 30 seconds for you. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. You sure you want me to answer too? I mean, I did come in late, so I'm totally okay.
Please answer the identity. Tell us why you're a member
Okay.
of the Democratic Party.
Okay.
And what you
Well,
believe. Yeah, go right ahead.
yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't want to show my age, but I've been a member for the party for over 30 years. Been an officer in various realms, but I think as far as the party is concerned, I've seen the bad, the good, and the party goes sideways. But I think for the most part, the party is there, and we need to strengthen the party wherever we can. I mean, there was a point where we were actually, when I was on state central committee, we were actually trying to see if we can kick people out of the party. And at that time, I was vehemently opposed because I think, we need to welcome people into the party. I think part of the mission and is to, embrace people into the party. And I think as far as the platform, one of the key issues, and it has to be the key issue, is the economy. And I think I think it's been first on the platform for the longest time. So so I think the economy has to be one of our top priorities at the state legislature in this upcoming session. So,
Jay, since
right.
you're on that topic, let me ask you that question. The COVID-19 pandemic has negatively affected the flow of tourist dollars into the local economy. Tell us what you think about the intersectionality between public health and economic health, and what proposals you might have to rescue the economy.
Okay, I think Hawaii has done a great job as far as, whether it be by default, because of our island, and there's only one way in pretty much through our islands. But I think we've done a pretty good job as far as balancing the two and getting, at least initially, the COVID crisis under at least the cases down, as also the deaths, but it's been spiking recently. I think we do need to create a balance, and I think we're trying to see what we can do as far as to bring people in. Unfortunately, tourism is our #1 industry. The military has been #2, and it's been pretty much holding us up. But I think what we need to do is look at how we can bring the tourists back. Two-thirds of our as far as westbound travelers. So we need to see what we can do to test people, whether it be, and that's a problem too. It's something that's not our control because everything's spiking on the mainland. So I think I agree with Derek as far as looking to the bubble countries, the Japan, the South Koreas, the New Zealands, as far as marketing is concerned. I think we need to do that to try to bring those country people to our state as far as visitors are concerned, so that at least we have. Okay, thank you. So we can, bring the tourist market back as quickly as possible, but as safe as possible. So I know the hotels and have taken measures to clean their hotels as far as to welcome the visitors back, but the visitors, residents, and the workers have to be comfortable with the plan that comes in. Okay, sorry.
Hello,
go ahead.
Okay. Thank you so much. Jackson, did you answer the economy question?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. You can start anytime.
Can you see the green?
I'm sorry?
Can you see the green square?
Now I can.
You can?
Now I can, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So while restarting the economy is a critical factor to putting money back into the families' pockets, preventing a resurgence in COVID-19 cases must be the priority for Hawaii. If we reopen without a robust safety protocol, we end up back at square one, and that's the worst case scenario. To ensure the safe and expedient reopening of Hawaii's economy, I would dedicate all necessary resources to strengthening the safety protocols, as well as expanding the state's capacity to track, trace, and test visitors and residents alike. While a lot of attention is placed on the safety protocols for visitors, be it pre-testing or 2-week quarantine, having the capacity to test the community is critical to understanding if and how the virus is spreading. As we focus on reopening the tourism industry, however, we also must look to grow innovative and sustainable jobs. Unfortunately, Hawaii is dependent on tourism, and so that has to be our focus now, as thousands of families rely on it. But we also could look at other industries. A lot of people talk about renewable energy technologies as well as agriculture. But I also like to mention cybersecurity and engineering jobs provided by the local defense industry. These are local high-paying jobs that we can connect our students with to ensure that we are keeping our local talent here in Hawaii. But one thing I think that hasn't been touched upon is really communication. As a representative, I want to be a great government liaison between the state as well as my local community. So as the state takes these steps to make Hawaii a safer place, I will also want to focus on communicating clearly with my constituents to ensure that there's no misunderstanding or anxiety surrounding the state's effort.
Okay, thank you so much. The next question is on the social safety net. Due to the pandemic, it is projected that more businesses will shut their doors. Local families will be in dire straits, facing evictions or default on mortgages and other obligations, and experience hunger. What remedies or relief measures might you propose to alleviate this scale of human suffering? We'll go back on our order here. The first person to speak will be Derek, and then Becky, and then Jay, and then Jackson. Derek?
Great, yeah.
Hey, Derek, can you see the green screen?
Yeah, I can see it. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so we need to continue to provide the rent and utilities relief program that we've been providing, and we need to make sure that it goes into next year. It goes into 2021. On top of that, we need to continue the protection for families from evictions. We need to extend the unemployment periods, as well as update our unemployment system to a digital system like what I've seen in California, which I think is vital to, the health of our system there, and ensuring that our residents continue to receive the unemployment that they need. On top of that, I think we got to look into the paycheck relief and grants to our local businesses, as well as to help our local businesses, providing support and advising them on how to market themselves and perform on a digital platform, as well as to market themselves on social media and areas like that. And then, for the public health, we also need to expand telemedicine and access to affordable medicine groups to ensure that our residents have access to treatment and medicine during this time. On the flip side, we have to, a big challenge is going to be balancing the budget. And I have 4 steps to addressing this. One is the rainy day fund. The next is maximizing federal funding. The next is, due to the state's historically good credit score, looking to either the federal government or the private market to secure bonds and ensure that they can be paid off over a lengthy 10-year period of time. And then, lastly, let's explore ways to balance the budget through people who either don't live in the state, or visit.
2 minutes.
Oh, is that it?
Okay. Next, thank you very much, Derek. The next person will be Becky. I think what we'll do is, it doesn't appear that the candidates are able to see the 30-second warning. So I think I'll just gently whisper that it's 30 seconds, okay?
Okay, that works.
Okay. All right. Becky, are you ready? I'll whisper. Okay. And that way you can keep on going, and then I'll signal that you're going to wrap up. Okay.
Okay. Appreciate that. Okay. So, these are a lot of questions that have to deal with money, right? And, we're discussing the budget, we're discussing, borrowing options, so I actually have a lot of recommendations with respect to this in the Civil B Q&A that went out. So I would direct people to read that. I only got like 2 minutes here. So what I want to focus in my time with you guys here is that, there are things that we can do that may not be so cash dependent, budget dependent. For example, this question mentions foreclosures and evictions. So we can extend and we can be creative with moratoriums on foreclosures and evictions. And in fact, right now I'm working with the Kaimuki Business Professional Association and with Tommy Waters' office to come up with a resolution language to figure out how we can provide some relief to a lot of our small businesses and their obligations for their commercial leases. So that is something, we're trying to think outside of the box with. And like I said, I have a lot of drafting experience, so they pulled me in to work on that. And so I am excited to work on that, especially since I've been a small business owner myself, and I understand their struggles. But with respect to foreclosures, When I was at the Capitol from 2009 to 2012, I was instrumental in crafting legislation that was rehauling our foreclosure statutes. And we put in there a mandatory mediation provision before foreclosure happened. And that bill, Act 48 from 2011, I think it was, that bill made it into a book of model legislations, a state council of state legislatures. And they have a model book, and our bill got in there. And so one of my objectives is to get into the Capitol and continue putting Hawaii legislation in as state model legislation. I think also it's critical that we think about, you know, food, shelter, and health. What's that?
That was 2 minutes.
Oh, I didn't get the 30-second.
Oh, I whispered it. I guess you can't hear it.
Hard to hear.
I'm really sorry, Becky.
Oh, it's okay.
Our next speaker will be Jay. Jay, are you prepared to answer that?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't have the green screen, so I wouldn't know when 30 seconds was anyway. So anyway,
I'll tell
I'm
you.
going to sound like a broken, okay, thank you. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's pretty much everything, as Becky mentioned, the money. So everything is going to be based on what we do with the economy. So hopefully we can, as Derek mentioned, hopefully we can balance the budget. The legislature this past few weeks prior to the end of the real session, they looked at different things as far as trying to balance the budget without, looking into other cuts, for example, to state employees. But I think what we need to do is strengthen the budget, strengthen the economy such that, and it's gonna, again, it's tourism based. So we have to look at what we can do to bring back the tourists as quickly as possible. Governor Ige postponed the Trans-Pacific lifting of the quarantine until September 1st. That's gonna be a little dire, but we have to see what we can do as far as, and I agree with Jackson that we need to bring back the tourists that comfortably, so that everybody's comfortable with it, as far as the residents, again, the workers and the visitors themselves. But we need to look at strengthening the economy such that we can help, and if we don't get the federal aid that we are hoping for, and all these other things that we can get, then we can, we're going to be in really dire straits. So I think we need to, again, strengthen the economy as much as possible, look at, try to bring tourism back, and then we can look at, I know they took money and put it into the rainy day fund, but again, they were able to balance the budget without doing that. So I think we would be okay. Sorry.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you very much. Jackson?
So as many families struggle to pay for the rent, I would support the House Subcommittee's proposal to establish a Housing Relief and Resiliency Fund. This fund, administered to nonprofits like AUW and the Hawaii Community Foundation, would provide more than 18,000 families who lost income from COVID-19 and whose pre-COVID income was under 100% area median income. So such a program would be estimated to cost around $57.5 million, and that could be paid for through the CARES Act funds, as well as supplemented by transferring funds from special and revolving fund accounts. The state audit in May estimated there to be about $483 million in available funds, which can be redirected to relief programs, such as the rental relief program that I mentioned, without adversely affecting existing programs. For my district specifically, I would like to coordinate with the local neighborhood security watches to ensure that the most vulnerable in our community are taken care of. During the first few weeks of the pandemic, I volunteered with various organizations like Malama Meals and Help Is On The Way, and saw firsthand how these groups are effective at leveraging their local networks to fill the needs of those who are most vulnerable in the community. So whether it's rental relief program or working with local networks, really the best way to address this social safety is by reopening our economy safely. And so to do that, again, my priority will be to establish a robust system to track, trace, and contain the virus.
Thank you so much. Next question on affordable housing. The State Land Use Commission is tasked with enforcing developer commitments for affordable housing. However, major landowners and large project developers have worked to bypass or abolish the agency and to erode its power while ignoring the requirement for affordable housing projects. We are also told that 50,000 households are spending more than 50% of their income on housing. Despite the pressure from these factors, what are some possible ways to create more affordable housing on Oahu? Becky, Jay, Jackson, and Derek. Becky, take it away.
Okay, so I think one of the first things we need to keep in mind, probably the first roadblock to achieving affordable housing, which is something that we've been grappling with for quite a while, is this NIMBY concept, right? And I think perhaps the best way we can do this, and of course there's a distinction between the kind of policy that state legislators can affect and also the municipal levels, city, county. And so I think we need to look at this in a comprehensive, more holistic way in terms of zoning and how we're going to rezone the whole island and all the islands for that matter, as to where we're going to best fit affordable housing, to where they're going to be able to, access public transportation, and they'd be able to, raise their kids and find school and all the rest of it. So we'd have to take this sort of aerial view first and make sure that it's equitably distributed and in ways that make sense. And this process will require community buy-in, which is essential, because we can make a lot of progress and then it goes backwards because they're like NIMBY not here, right? I want to focus a bit about District 20 here on this question, because I think there's a great potential along the Waialae corridor, and there's some potential for vertical development. It's also, because we're a bedroom community to downtown districts, businesses, and also university, I think that it's incumbent upon whoever represents this district to really explore this. And I hope that this could be a benefit for a lot of students and young families. Because we are so walkable here. We can access so many things in this district. So, and as a member of Envision Kaimuki for the last 3+ years, we've explored this. We've put on some symposiums on how to explore mixed use development, maybe storefronts on the bottom, and then multiple levels on top. And I'm pretty sure my time is up, but I'd love to talk more about this in another opportunity.
So I did just get my controls back for some reason, so I apologize. It's Zoom. It's an awful, terrible app. So now we can do big virtual backgrounds. Does this work for everybody? If you pin this screen, will this work okay?
Our next speaker will be Jay.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, well.
He's on a telephone,
Yeah.
so I'll tell him.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, thank you. I think it's been said that a lot of the developers are not abiding by the affordable housing commitments, but I think some of them are, and I think we need to kind of prod them to do that, and I think we need to encourage future developers to do the same. When I was with the city and county of Honolulu, and then working on the road project directly, but one of the things that we emphasized around the rail project was transit-oriented development. So we wanted, as far as trying to keep the cost down, we wanted to have the developers around the rail line to build affordable housing, and that was part of the plan. So unfortunately, a lot of that didn't materialize, but there's still areas where along the rail line that there could be development, and there could be development for in the area of affordable housing. So I think that's one area that we can look to create more affordable housing. I think I know it's projected within the next 10 years we're going to need another 50,000 homes to be built, and hopefully most of those will be affordable type housing projects. But again, I think we need to look at transit-oriented development to see what we can do to create more affordable housing on Oahu.
Oh,
Sorry, a little bit more time.
yeah, that was just a 30-second warning.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just stop there. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Jackson, you're the next speaker.
So for the candidates, if you click the 3 little dots, you can pin the timing screen so we can stop, interrupting. And I totally apologize for that.
Yes, I think you have to. I think you individually have to pin. I don't think I can pin them to the first thing. I think that's
No, that's what I'm saying. The candidates can pin the timing screen.
Yes, that's what we should do.
So I'm clicking your 3 dots on your green screen and it doesn't do anything for me. I don't know, Derek, Jackson, if you got the same experience.
If we click
Nothing.
gallery view and then have his screen at the bottom.
I think possibly we should just go ahead with Flora interrupting, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Maybe Flora, maybe you should wait for an acknowledgement from the speaker to 30 seconds, and then that might be good. Just a suggestion.
I think we should just go on. We're doing okay. Let's proceed.
Okay, so growing Hawaii's affordable housing, is critical to addressing many of Hawaii's issues like the cost of living or houselessness. And so to address and to grow affordable housing in Hawaii, I would support the Aloha Homes program that's being spearheaded by Senator Stanley Chang and inspired by the Singaporean housing model. This program would seek to create thousands of affordable housing units for households making about 100% AMI to 80% AMI. So that's exactly the target community we need to be making these units for. I would also look to more creative avenues of building these units along the rail line. I think that would be a great opportunity for reduced traffic for folks who just hop on the rail and go to work without having to use a car. I'd also look towards looking at the Queen Lili'uokalani's elementary school, which is currently a DOE facility, but I think that has a lot of opportunity to become an affordable housing unit, potentially for teachers and school staff. So whether it's this Aloha Homes program or other programs potentially in District 20, I really want to be able to communicate our vision towards our neighbors, because if we do go ahead with these programs without proper communication, then we experience a lot of pushback, as we are currently seeing in Kailua. So to avoid these conflicts, as a representative, I will always be available to my community and to proactively reach out to make sure that my community understands what's going on in their neighborhood.
Thank you very much, Jackson. Derek?
Yeah, so
Sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Derek, you have to unmute yourself. Sorry.
got it. Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so to follow up on the through what the other candidates have talked about, absolutely, developing affordable housing has to be one of our top priorities. And one of the ways I propose to look at developing affordable housing is through the public-private partnership programs that are being discussed at the legislature, Aloha Homes being one of them. But as a condition to these partnerships, we need to include in the language of the legislation that these homes will remain affordable and they'll remain affordable rental housing. I think one of the mistakes that has been made in the past is they've developed these homes with the public-private partnership, but they were for purchase, that no one could that no one could afford, or that they were built without any rent control regulations. So within the legislation, we need to put in the rental costs for these housing developments before they're developed, and ensure that these rental costs are affordable at all levels. On top of that, specific to District 20, one of the ways to keep the housing affordable in District 20 is doing more to regulate the monster home situation, in particular the illegal monster home situation, where these big 16 to 20 unit new buildings are built on home property, and they're driving up the cost of rent. But by regulating it, adding teeth to the illegal monster home bills, keeping the fines, and even throwing in some criminal penalties to illegal monster home developments is the way that we're going to regulate that and keep rent down in District 20.
Thank you. Perfect. Perfect, Derek. Thank you. The next question has to do with climate change. The Democratic Party advocates a thoughtful response to the adverse impacts of climate change, such as sea level rise projected to be 3 feet, along with more frequent extreme weather, such as hurricanes and severe flooding. The Alawai watershed would suffer devastation to its infrastructure, which includes the communities of Manoa, Palolo, Kapahulu, and Waikiki. To preserve life and property under these conditions, the Army Corps of Engineers proposed a $345 million flood control project, which was opposed by 6 neighborhood boards. As a District 20 representative, what legislation and mitigation projects would you advocate to protect and preserve our coastal communities from major flooding and eroding shorelines? The order of speakers is Jay, Jackson, Derek, and Becky. Jay?
Yes, thank you. No matter how you look at it, the climate change and its effects are going to be critical to us in the future. I mean, as far as you mentioned, sea level rise is going to be one of the major problems for at least Oahu, some of the other islands. But I think there was a study done that in 20, 30 years or sooner that most of the metropolises in the, for example, Manhattan, some of the other, and they didn't really show Hawaii, but I believe that most of them with Waikiki and some of our areas are going to be underwater, and that's troubling. I think just the effects of the just the pandemic. I mean, we had shortages on toilet paper and all these different items that it would vastly affect our airports if because our airports are right near the ocean. Harbors, same thing. So as far as getting supplies into our islands, it's going to be tough. So I think we need to, if it's not the Army Corps Engineers proposal, which I looked at, and there are some problems with that, whether it be, we have to do something quickly. And I think I looked at the LOI Centennial proposal, and I think there's some good aspects of that, but I think we need to kind of look at doing something quickly. I think, okay. So I think we need to look at trying to get something proposed, something in motion so that we can, this is, again, it's 20, 30 years down the line, but it could be sooner. So I think we need to kind of, we've already seen the effects on the windward coast. I mean, some of the highways are falling into the ocean. So I think we need to look at that and soon.
Thank you very much, Jay. Perfect. The next speaker is Jackson.
So we must act quickly to preserve our natural environment and protect our communities from, as you said, the impending natural disasters resulting from climate change. But this doesn't mean, we neglect the involvement from our communities. And so as a representative, I would work hard to ensure that community involvement in preventive measures like the Alawai Watershed Flood Mitigation Project is present. I really support this the Alawai flood mitigation project. It is absolutely critical to protecting our economy as well as our communities in the low-lying areas. But again, the approach that we need to take with these projects is really start from the community, to really listen to them and then change the plans accordingly. So that's why I've been so inspired and encouraged by community leaders like Dave Watase, who has taken the initiative to really step up and voice the community concerns and really change some of the plans of the Alawai project. So I really support that approach. But I would also look to renewable energy projects like the Kahuku wind farms, which also suffers similar community outreach issues. But in the end, I think one of the main focuses for climate change would be flooding mitigation. So one report from the University of Hawaii said this was one of the biggest, the groundwater inundation was the biggest risk to the low-lying areas of Honolulu. So as a representative, I want to protect Hawaii residents by working with the University of Hawaii as well as different stakeholders and to prevent the negative effects of climate change in Hawaii. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Derek.
Muted.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, so kind of first off, talking specifically about the Alawai flood control project. From what I read and after talking to some of the community members, the project proposed by the Army Corps that would put the 6-foot walls along the Alawai as well as flood control basins in Palolo and Manila is really not the solution because of the effect it would have on the environment, etc. After further study, what does make sense to approach this issue is the floodgate at the Alawai Boulevard Bridge is the better solution. So kind of that's where I am on that issue. But with regards to climate change, it absolutely is one of the biggest risks that faces my generation as well as future generations, and we need to approach it immediately. And one of the first steps is reducing carbon emissions. I looked up House Bill 1675, and I think that's a good way to address that by utilizing funds and really putting a small tax on gasoline sales and utilizing those tax dollars to invest in clean energy. Because after talking to a lot of people, that they want to invest in an electric car or a clean energy car, but one of the issues that they face is there aren't enough charging stations in the state. So utilizing that House bill, we could invest in more charging stations and also invest in other clean energy solutions such as solar energy, wind energy. And also we gotta focus on fixing our coastline, or saving our coastlines, and House Bill 1621 establishes a Honolulu climate coastline protection pilot, which is another bill I would support to address climate change.
Thank you very much, Derek. Becky?
Okay, well, gosh, I have a lot to say on this subject, and it's probably telling. I received the endorsement from the Sierra Club and also 350 Hawaii, which are environmental protection organizations, and their surveys were tough. So, I invite you to email me, and I'll forward to you my survey responses to get some, if you want to see more specific policy recommendations that I have. But in terms of the Alawai project itself, I think it's also important. I weighed in on this in a very substantive way. The Protect Our Alawai Watershed project, they reached out to the District 20 candidates and they asked for their positions, and on a particular bill. And I wanted to put that in the chat, but I don't see a chat option in the Zoom here. But if you do go to Protect Our Alawai Watershed website, you can see my response. It's rather comprehensive on how we should go about that project and my views on related legislation. But I think that project in particular gives me a really important point to make here, is that people were against it because they didn't know about it. They weren't engaged. There was a real problem with the community input part of this project. And, and as I was canvassing, I was hearing, from people who were living close to where the detention bases were going to be placed. And they're like, we never heard of this. We don't know anything about it. But then you talk to the Army Corps and like, well, we did they're necessary. 30 seconds, heard that one. So I think that going forward, we need to make sure that there is more robust community engagement, not just to like comply with the regulations and the law, but to like really truly get the pulse of the community and get their input. And I have noticed when Dave Watase got involved, you know, there was this sort of feeling that like, well, we'll just tell these people not to worry about it. We've got the engineering team. Don't worry your pretty little heads about this. And I felt this with Red Hill too, that they were just 2 minutes. So please check out my response on this question. And I'm very much an advocate for environmental protection.
that was a little over 2 minutes. Jay, are you, it's okay, it's okay. Jay, are you still in the room?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to leave really soon, but go ahead. And then if I have to leave, I'll just go.
Yeah, let's have you make your closing statement.
Oh yeah, sorry to the other candidates, but I have another commitment that I have. Yeah, again, thank you to the party for putting this on. I truly appreciate what you're doing. I know it took some time to put together, so yeah, thank you very much again. I just want to say that, and to the other candidates, good luck, and I hope we all come out winners in the end. But I just wanted to note my experience, and I think being in the legislature and the executive branch and at the city and county of Honolulu, I think I can navigate the jurisdictions, and a lot of issues cross jurisdictional lines. So I think what I hope to bring to the legislature is the capability of navigating those issues and try to put things in the right place. And again, help with the budget. I did work at the Senate Ways and Means for 2 years at one session. So I hope to bring that knowledge also to the legislature. Been a party member forever, and plan to stay one forever. So hopefully I can do good things for the party when I'm at the legislature. So thank you very much.
Can you tell people how to get a hold of you if they have further questions?
Yes, they have further questions. My email is 2020 Ishibashi, all lowercase, @gmail.com. That's probably the best way to go. I mean, I've been inundated with emails and everything else, but I'll try to get answer as many questions as I can, or issues that I can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again. Sorry, I gotta leave. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for bearing with us. We were told that he had a 5 o'clock commitment and it was tight, but thank you for staying with us. Jackson, did you want to make a closing statement?
Absolutely. So the reason why I got into this race to begin with is because, again, I saw so many of my family and friends leaving Hawaii. And even throughout this campaign, I would go to a house, and next time I went there, they already left. So this is something that's a norm here in Hawaii, and I want to work hard right now so that maybe in the future, 5-10 years from now, that's not me leaving Hawaii. This has been my home my entire life. And I really want to work hard to make sure that other families and their children can continue to call Hawaii their home and thrive here, not just work every day, just living paycheck to paycheck. And as the youngest candidate, born and raised in this district, I have a lot of skin in the game to ensure action is taken to affect change and build a better future for our community. So whether it's at doing outreach with the houseless at Crane Park, or listening in at neighborhood board meetings to the concerns of our neighbors, I have always worked on the ground to understand the needs of our community and develop strategies to address them. My global experiences in Shanghai and Japan also give me a unique perspective on how to reposition Hawaii, not only as a tourist destination, but as a center of innovation and diplomacy in the Pacific. I believe this combination of a local upbringing and a global vision makes me a unique candidate to help build a more resilient and sustainable future for our families and community. Throughout this, thank you. throughout this campaign, I've been really touched by the kindness of my neighbors who've offered me, a glass of water as I was going door to door. And even throughout this pandemic, I was helping out, volunteer with the Kaimuki football team, passing out food. It's just been inspiring, and that makes me want to serve and love this community that much more. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Jackson. Derek?
Okay, yeah, first off, I want to thank the Democratic Party again and all our hosts for putting the time in to help us with this with this forum. I also want to just send a shout out to all the other candidates here. You guys have been amazing on the campaign trail, gracious, kind, and I really admire everything that you've all done for the community thus far. With that being said, just want to start off with a little story. Back in February, while I was going door to door, I was walking down 9th Avenue in Palolo, and I saw a young man, middle school man, throwing the football to himself, and he had a St. Louis polo shirt on. So I stopped, I put down my stuff, and I just started throwing the football with him. And after throwing the football with him for a couple minutes, his parents came out, and I had a great talk with his parents about, and they shared with me their concerns about his future in Hawaii, his education opportunities, his job opportunities, and just the overall safety of the community. And that conversation made me inspired and motivated. It got me excited because it reminded me why I'm running for office. I'm running for office to provide opportunities for our future, for the young man who I threw the football with and other young men and women in District 20, and as well as, my future generation and future generations beyond that. I want to get in there and just help provide good job opportunities for our future, good education opportunities, a safe community for our future. And I know that we're facing some really challenging times moving ahead, but I'd love to serve you guys and do whatever I can to fight for our future and make Hawaii a better place. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Derek. Becky?
Okay, I didn't manage to say one of the most important things I wanted to say in the first question because I have the timer. But you asked about the Democratic platform and, how, what calls to us, what resonates with us. And, I have it printed out and I read it just because of my involvement, in the party. And in particular, I draw your attention to the table of contents. And these overarching principles are education and well-being, healthcare, housing, and social cultural well-being, and energy and environmental well-being, well-being of the government and the governed. And then the last one is the national security, the military, peace, and veterans' rights. And those are the central tenets of the Democratic platform, which are also key tenets of my candidacy and my platform. And, I really believe these to my core. If you look at that Civil B Q&A, I speak to well-being as it's something that they're doing in New Zealand, in the UK, in Bhutan. They're looking at well-being as a measure for appropriate and effective legislation and policy. And I want to create that kind of ethic and measurement in state level policy. It's really important to me. I also just want to say, if you're looking for the candidate with the most experience, I'm that candidate. If you're looking for the candidate with most skin in the game, with my two girls in public schools, I'm that candidate. If you're looking for the candidate who has the greatest demonstrated commitment to the community, I've got years under my belt in this district. I am that candidate. And also, if you're looking for a women's perspective, which has not been represented in this district for the last 44 years, I am that candidate. And that's particularly important right now when our legislature is only 28% women. And so I am running for office because we need to make some changes, and I'm excited to make that happen. Please look for me at www.beckygardnerhawaii.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky, you did it. I want to thank all the candidates, Jackson, Derek, and Jay, and Becky, for your time. We're a little over after 5 o'clock, but we did it. So let's turn this back over to Nate for his closing statement, and then to Lorna for her closing statement. Thank you, Rich and Lorna and Nate.
All right. Well, thank you, candidates, for sharing your insights and time this evening, and for your service and dedication to your community. You know, we wish you all the best of luck in the weeks ahead, and you know, we look forward to working with you. Registered voters will be receiving their ballots in mail during the week of July 20th, so this coming week. And ballots must be received in the elections office by primary election day, which is August 8th. So, mahalo nui loa for joining us, and ahui ho.
Lorna.
Aloha, and I just want to add my mahalo to Nate and to Flora, to the 4 candidates who have come. It is a rare opportunity indeed in Hawaii that we have an open seat. And here we have an open seat in a prime, unbelievably central district on Oahu, and an important one that brings together all kinds of mountains and valleys and multiple mixes of people and businesses and individuals. And it's like an amazing district. And the fact that there are 4 passionate and compassionate candidates who've stepped forward is near and dear to my heart, and I know to all of us who serve in the Democratic Party. And I want to pledge to you that while one of you will step forward as the candidate, that I and the Oahu Democratic Party will support that one candidate whole hog all the way through to November 3rd. So please don't forget us. We're here for you, and we'll be with you to the end after this election, this primary is over. I also want to say that to those of you who won't make the general election, your talent and your energy and your intelligence is remarkable, and please stick with us, you know, be with us. We want to continue to work together with you. You are amazing representatives of what we have to offer as Democrats in Hawaii. So mahalo.